Alright guys, hello, welcome back to another Learning Flutter video. So far in my videos we have seen everything till user interface. And during my last interview, sorry, not interview, learning video. Why am I saying interview? I don't know. Alright, during my last video I was learning. I noticed these are all very simple things. And I feel like I'm wasting too much time on looking at them instead of actually making something I wanted to make. So, what I'm gonna do from now on is I'm literally gonna run through everything and I'm gonna store the information in my brain. That's what I'm gonna do. Literally store information, because when you make something that you want to make, this information that you learned here, you have to call it back when you need it. That's the most efficient, how can I say, what you learned and you're putting it to use. Is there any short form to say it? I don't know. All right, now what, we're gonna get to it. Data and backend. What's a data? Literally, data means you store your informations online. It's a database. So there are multiple explanations and remarks, etc., etc., but that's not what we need right now. What we need is, we're going to learn how Flutter handles this data and backends. Okay, if you're taking some computer, you will have like MongoDB, MySQL. There are tons of database, but mobile does not have the same database. Mobile have a little bit different. And you see this name called Firebase. This is similar, how can I say, Flutter is developed by Google or used by Google. I'm a little bit confused. Okay, let's look at that later. Similar to that, Firebase is also something that belonged to Google. So first, let's go through this a little bit faster. Since we are looking at the material, so I don't need to go everything little by little. All we have to do is understand the concepts. Okay, if you're already familiar with the state management in reactive apps, fuck, I'm learning React, but I don't know what state management means. So start thinking declaratively. If you're coming from product frameworks such as Android, this is my first framework. I'm learning this because I thought this will make a little bit different to multiple platforms. Because I want to make mobile, I don't have to go and learn Kotlin or Java. If I want to make a web application, I don't have to go and learn React or like HTML, CSS coding. If I want to make something for desktop, I don't have to go .NET or what else? What else in the PC? .NET, C#. Those are old texts, but I believe Flutter can be, you write a code and you make mobile, web, desktop, and Linux, everything at once. That's what I'm trying to focus on. That's why my first thing I'm learning is Flutter. Alright, never mind. Many assumptions that you don't have to apply to Flutter. For example, Flutter, it's okay to rebuild balls of your UI from scratch instead of modifying it. Flutter is fast enough to do that, even on every frame if needed. Alright, the layout screen of your build method state application. When the state of your app changes, there's no improving changing like the UI set text, blah blah blah. Get started guide. The declarative style of UI programming has many benefits, so remarkable. There's only one code path for any state of UI. You describe what the UI should look like for any given state. Once in, that is it. This talk introduces the app state, a pyramidal state, and how you might manage each in a Flutter app in the broad best possible sense. When the app is running, include the app assets, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm not gonna go blah blah blah. Let's just read it, because there may be some small information that's very effective and big knowledge. UI at any moment. Second state, you doing. Oh, I'm gonna just read a little bit faster. Everyone will say sometimes called UI states. A local state you can cut and single with this entirely a vague definition. So here there are a few examples. Current pages view, current application animation, current socket tab in bottom navigator, other parts of which is a tree cell need access to this kind of state. There is no need to serialize it, and it doesn't change in complex ways. In other words, there is no need to use the state management techniques, scope model, redux, etc. On this kind of state, all you need to do is stateful widget. Wow, stateful widget. Alright, if you're making a program, make sure everything is in stateful widget, because stateless widget you don't have to store any information, but in stateful widget you need to store information. So if you're making an app, I'm pretty sure that app will require some backend things, backend data. So you just put a stateful and that's it. But if you're making a page that gathers data, such as send message and stuff, and you don't have to put stateful there, because you're not storing data, you're just receiving data. So that's it. We'll talk about the button functions later. Anyway, what this is doing is current index on tab, new index, set state, new index equals to, the old index gets set to new index on tab. This is not exactly, it's like you're getting a new value and changing that value. Here using state fields inside of state widget, state fields have compute nature. No other part of your app needs to access index. Variable only changes inside the home widget, and if your users closes, restarts the app, if you don't mind, the index resets to 0. App state, user preference, login info, notifications in social networking app, the shopping cart, app, read, unread, state of articles in news app. Okay, there's no clear-cut rule. To be clear, you can use the state and set state to manage all the states in your app. In fact, Flutter team does this in many apps and sample application. You get everything. Alright. Data, who needs it, most widgets, some widget, single widget, app state, a pyramidal state. Alright. Now, based on this, you get a data, you put most widgets, some widgets. The thing is, the data that comes from here, if it goes to many, you need to call app state, like set app state or set state. But if it goes to single, it's called a pyramidal state. But we need to see the code in action to understand what it does. Alright, let's go. Now that you know about declarative UI, let's click the link and learn it. Wait, didn't we just look into it earlier? Oh my god. Okay, pyramidal is a single page, and it's not single, it's in a single widget, single place. That's a pyramidal. Alright. My catalog, my card widget respectively. It could show shopping app, but you can manage in structure inside a simple social networking app. Replace catalog for wall and carded for favorites. Catalog screens includes a custom bar app. lifting state up in Flutter, it makes sense to keep the state about the widgets that use it. Why in declarative frameworks? Like Flutter, if you want to change the UI, you have to rebuild it. There is no easy way to have my card update with something new. In other words, it's hard to imperatively change a widget from outside by calling a method on it. And even if you could make this work, you would be fighting the framework instead of letting it help you. This is bad. Do not do this. What they're saying is void my tab handler cart widget equals somehow get my widget cart widget update with item. They say bad, do not do this. Even if you get the above code to work, you will have to deal with the following my cart widget build context return some widget, the initial state of the cart. Okay, void update with item. Somehow you need to change the UI from here. Ooh, this is not a clear explanation. I void my tab handler where cart model show somehow get my cart model context cart model add item. Okay, what they're doing is updating. When you click, it will update, and when you click again, it will update again from the cart widget to somehow get my cart widget. It will update, not add. You see here they put add. See this add, because once it adds, it will, how can I say, it will add the from item to the cart. But if it updates, for example, if there is already one exist and you update another two, it will be updated to 3. That can be called as update. But if you add, that's also add. But what they're saying is do not do update, just do add, because that's more efficient and it will not cost problems or cost code errors. Now my card has only one code path, building any version of the UI. Widget build context where card model, so when I return some of the just construct the UI ones using the current state of the cards. Okay, my app bar, my app, my catalog, my cards. List them fading and it goes to cards. When a user clicks on one of the items in the catalog, it's added to the cart. But since the cart lives above my item list, how do we do that? A simple option to provide callback that my list item can call when it's clicked. Dot functions are first class objects, so you can pass them around any way you want. So inside my catalog, you can define following. Tab my tab callback, my list item. Okay, what this does is when you click my list item, it will show everything on your cart. That is my list item. My tab callback. User tabbed on items. It's calling the value. All right, let's see. My name, description, blah blah blah. Dependencies further providers. dependencies provider. Okay, this Bob spec YAML, it has tons of stuff, but it's all right. It's all right. Change notifier is a simple class encoded in Flutter which provides change notification to its user listeners. In other words, if something is a change notifier, you can subscribe to its changes. It is a form of observable for those familiar with that term. And provide a change notifier is the one way to encapsulate your application state. For very simple apps, you get simple notification kind of thing. You don't need to change notifier with provider at all, but it's all easy. All right. Class card model extend. Wait, they have. Don't tell me they have a cart widget. I get a feeling they do, because if it's a building app, they're making a building app, of course they're gonna put it there. All right. Unmodified list with get items, int get total price, item length. Declare to the bidders for all items, assuming all items cost $42. This call tells the widget that are listening to this model to rebuild. Add item, remove all. Wait, it's not removing one, it's literally removing all. That's a different. All right. Test adding increase item total cost. Cart total price greater than starting price. I plus I variable. From the looks of it, it seems every time you add an item, it will change the total price, like bill total. Create context, cart model, child, consent, my app. All right, all you have to do is copy all this code and run it, but I'm expecting there will be a complete code in the bottom. Return consumer cart model builder context cart child stack. If child null child text total price. Some expensive widgets. Alright, they're saying don't do this. Return humongous widget, another monstrous widget. What the fuck? Wait, is this actually widget or they just do a bad naming sense? Return child consumer cart model. What they're saying is return consumer. Do not return context cart and child with the humongous widget and another monstrous widget and later at the bottom text. Instead of that, you return the widget, the child widget, and the consumer cart. I mean, this goes like consumer ID or consumer, yeah, it's consumer ID or consumer name, and that consumer cart model, and it's going to build context cart and a child, this child and this child. I think this is this child, because this child comes within this child, so these two consumer context cart model cart child, and it's returning total price dollar cart total price. And this is something that earlier we did a code. Yeah, total price item length get, so it will cart total price will be here displayed. If child not equal to null total price. Okay, this is this is in case your cart is empty, it will show nothing, but in case you have something, it will show. If the child is not equal to null, it will show the total price. If it's nothing, then it will show this widget. This widget will probably show there's nothing in your cart or something. What is the name of this widget? Some expensive widget. Some expensive widget is not displayed here, but let's see what that does later. It is best to practice to put your customer widget in a deep tree as possible. You don't want to rebuild a large portion of the UI just because some details somewhere changed. Okay, fair enough. Because if they add something to the cart, they may remove it later. If you don't put a remove option, and they may have to add it all back one by one. So don't do this. Return consumer cart model. Wait, they already showed this, right? They're showing it again, or did I just, yeah, I think I scroll down. Anyway, all right, in this simple app state management, what they're showing us is you're adding a cart, you're putting the information, and with that information you're calculating the price. Okay, these are your datas, and with your data you're getting a price, total price, and it's all in the stateful widget. Stateful, that's what it says. Hold on a second, let me check it. Stateful widget, stateful. All right, I'll check that later. Anyway, we're running the app here, by the way. Oh, this is just an example because the real code are far more complicated than this. It's just a context, but there will be product lists and many more. So this looks like this is how the cart option works, but if you look at some Amazon, those big websites like that, there are tons of options. There are tons of features such as delivery charge, location of the customer, and discount coupon. I'm not sure if discount coupons are still exist in certain sites. And the user feeds from the seller, blah 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 blah. There's a lot more. This is simply adding one thing to the cart. Like I said, I'm gonna go faster. I'm still general overview. These are all like this option. This have materials for you to study. To report another good choice is similar to provide a compile. Safe and testable. RiverPod doesn't have a dependencies on Flutter SDK. RiverPod homepage, getting started with RiverPod. Okay, these are all study materials, but do not get confused by it now, because if you're making something, like I said earlier, if you're making something, you have doubts, you can totally come here and check the materials, how things works, and how you need to input these codes and this knowledge and the information to make it work. Fish Redux library, Fish Redux source, Flutter movie. Wait, they made a Flutter movie? Oh, that is so cute. Okay, forget it. Get it as service locator based on state components. Wait, these are all widgets? Are you serious? People made tons of it. Mobex, a popular library based on observable and reactions. Getting started with mobex.dart. Wow. Flop hats, Flutter commands, Flutter command package. There are tons of stuff based on what you need, and Firebase is just the one database. And look at this getX package. Oh god, a simple reactive state management solution. Binder, a state management package that uses inherit widget at its core. Alright, these are all not just informations. These are all the things that you need to make a big sites, a big widget. Like I said earlier, when you go to Amazon such a sites, there will be user reviews, customer location, seller location, etc., etc. Solidart, a simple powerful state management solution inspired by Solid.js. Okay, whatever this solid JavaScript do, this Solidart does that. Interesting. Flutter reactive widget, reactive value definition, automatic cases react widgets to listen to react value. Okay, well, let's just say if you learn all this, and that knowledge will be useful in somewhere. Okay, these are all widgets. These are all the third-party tools. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. These are all the third-party tools that you need for your work or project or whatever you're doing. Alright, now let's get back to networking and HTTP. This is something earlier we were doing some import image. I tried to use image.asset, but instead it was image.networking to display a image. So that's how simple that displaying image was, but you need to do tons of stuff in the HTTP. So let's see how it goes. Cross-platform networking, HTTP package, simply provide the user HTTP request. Okay, reset API, I guess. Android, declare the user of internet in the manifest Android manifest.xml. Use permission Android equal Android permission internet. Mac. Alright, this code is something that you must input in the Android folder. I didn't open the Visual Code, but open the Visual Code and see the left side. You will see Android and iOS folders, and in that folder you will see this file called Android manifest.xml, and you need to add this there. So the application will defaultly get it. No, it will ask the mobile or whatever the Android device is for the network access. JSON and serialization. It's hard to think about a mobile app doesn't communicate with the web servers or easily store structured data at some point. When making a network connected app, the chances are it needs to consume some good old JSON or sooner or later. It's a guide of way into looking using JSON with Flutter. It converts which JSON solution to use in different scenarios and why. Alright, do not pay attention to this much because JSON and Result API, those are all different things, okay? So we're going to just look into it because we are just making a user interface. We are not entering this, okay? These are just learn them to just look at them just in case you're already working. Anyway, serialization, dot converter, map string, dynamic print, how the user name is sent the notification. Unfortunately, JSON T code returns a map string dynamic, means you do not know the type of the values until runtime. With this approach, you lose most of the statically typed language feature, type safety, auto completion, and most importantly, compile time expectations. Your code will become instant, more error prone. Like I said, user dot class user final string name email user this name this email. The responsibility of decoding logic is now moved inside the model itself. Right, you need a little bit of JSON knowledge. Skip this, literally skip this. You can look into JSON. Do not look into this before you learn some JSON, how this works. Okay. All right, now let's move to Firebase.